It's been nearly 10 months since the Trump administration unveiled its merit hiring plan, and the plan has changed a bit since then, along with the administration's overall workforce goals. Strict quotas for workforce reduction are gone, for example, and there's a new emphasis on pooled recruitment for technical jobs. Scott Kupor is the director of the Office of Personnel Management. He shared a progress report with Federal News Network's Drew Friedman.
The good news is we're making really good progress on it. Obviously, last year, there was hiring in the federal government last year. There was roughly about 100,000 person hiring in the government, obviously on a net basis, of course, as you well know. The government was down from an employee base, but I would say there was very concentrated and fewer hiring actions last year. As we've gone into this new fiscal year, we've done a couple things. Number one is some of you may recall that there was an executive order last year which had a 4-to-1 kind of requirement, which was for every new position that was created, there was an obligation to basically remove 4 positions from government. As part of a new executive order the president put in this fiscal year, we've gotten rid of that, so we don't have any kind of numerical-based quotas on it. In place of that, what we've done is we've asked all the agencies, and they've all done this, to present to us and to OMB their overall headcount plans for the year, recognizing that obviously those will change, of course, as the needs change, but at least give us a baseline, particularly to be able to start to work on a number of these merit hiring-based proposals. So what came out of that for us, and this is what we're now implementing in merit hiring, are a couple things. Number one is we now have a better sense, at least as of a snapshot in time, of what are the big categories of things that are cross-agency hirings are happening, right? So it turns out, not surprisingly, that technical jobs, there are almost every agency is hiring technical jobs. Well, as you mentioned, right, that's a perfect opportunity within the context of the merit hiring plan to do a concept of shared certificates. So we've started that. We've got, an initiative called Tech Force, which I'm happy to talk about, which is kind of an example of that. But we're also going to roll out several other kind of shared certificate programs. We've set a goal, which is a very ambitious goal, of trying to get to 60% shared certificate hiring, over the course of this administration. We're nowhere near that today, so it's a very, very ambitious goal. But in my mind, it's really important because it not only makes the experience for the applicant better, but it'll make the experience, obviously, and the efficiency for government much better. So in my perfect world, what I would like is for any applicant who has a skill set to be able to just tell the federal government, I'm interested, I'm a program manager, these are the skills I have, and then basically for them not to have to go through and figure out which of the 150 different agencies might actually have a job open for them. I would love for them to be able to come in at the top of the funnel, demonstrate, kind of their interest. We at OPM then will do kind of common screening, and so this goes to your other point, which is how do we assess merit for these roles. So as part of the merit hiring program, we have done away with what is an employee's self-attestation of their skills. That's been the kind of predominant method by which employees have been evaluated is, I apply for a software engineering job and I check the box that says I know Perl and I know, SQL and I know, C++. And the honest answer is we have never done an actual assessment to determine whether your self-attestation actually is consistent with what your skill set actually is. So we're no longer using self-attestations. We're using assessments, so tests that have been validated by our psychologists. And then in addition, where appropriate, like in the tech area, we are going to use specific technical tests, right? So now, if you apply to Tech Force, which hopefully some of you will, or folks you will actually be assigned to take a software development test that will be kind of the first minimum criteria for you to be able to be eligible to continue in the hiring process. So it's a long way of saying, like, there's a bunch of these things doing. The whole goal in my mind is eliminate proxies and or substitutes for skills, and actually how do we measure them. The final piece of this, by the way, just so you know, is there are 609 different job classifications in the federal government. I don't know how we got to that number, but it's quite a large number. We are in the process right now of re-updating all of those and hopefully consolidating some of them down from 600 to a more reasonable number. But the main objective of that reclassification process is to eliminate, again, proxies for skill sets. So many, many federal job requirements have a requirement which says you must have a college degree. Well, to me, that tells me nothing about that individual, right? Because I don't know if they were a Russian literature, major, or if they were actually a, computer science major and they're applying for a computer science job. There's actually a relevant difference there. And so we're trying to do that. The second piece we're doing, as I mentioned, is many of the job classifications have minimum tenure requirements. So if we have a fantastic engineer who is actually performing at the level of a GS 15 or a 14, but that individual, let's say they graduated only from high school and they just came out in the workforce, because of the way the system is set up, we can only pay that individual at a GS5 or GS6 level because they have not satisfied the minimum tenure requirements. Well, again, in my mind, and people may disagree with this, that's just a silly system, right? So if we care about skills, then we should stop having proxies for skills. And so the big thing we're doing on this reclassification program is to try to eliminate anything that's a proxy for skills and then redefine the job requirements as skills-based things that we can ultimately assess through the form of some type of, formal assessment.
Yeah, thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about the Tech Force initiative, too. That I saw that you were partnering with NASA on that recently, and I believe that the initial date to kind of close out the applications, at least, was sometime in March. So can you just talk about, where that program stands right now?
Yeah, so let me give you a sense of what Tech Force is, first of all, and let me frame the problem for you. So we've got a number of challenges kind of as you look across the workforce in federal government. One of them is for particular areas of technical skills like, modern software development, AI skills, data scientists and stuff. We still have fewer people in government than we need who have that skill set. So one objective for Tech Force is just how do we start to reignite and do a better job of recruiting that skill set into government, because there's an enormous amount of modernization and technology activity, obviously, that we're trying to undertake for which we need skills.
That's Scott Kupor, the director of the Office of Personnel Management, speaking with Federal News Network's Drew Friedman. You can catch the full conversation, part of our recent Guide to the Federal Chico event, at federalnewsnetwork.com.